Welcome to the Big Idea to Bestseller podcast. We have a very special guest for you today. We have none other than Heather Lisle in the house today. Heather,
Here
welcome
we
to the
go.
show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. This will
Of
be fun.
course. Of course, this is going to be great. We got some big energy coming in here today. But look, a little background on Heather, and then we'll get started is Heather's the author of the book, Hold the Pineapple, Please. Purposeful Conversations That Build Better Teams, Bottom Lines, and Banana Splits. And this has to be one of the more unique titles slash subtitles that has jam-packed a punch of value. So I got to just start here, Heather.
Yeah.
How in the world did you decide on this title when talking about such a serious topic?
Because yeah, of course, there's always a really good story behind a title, and that's why I selected it is because it's intrigue. People always ask, "What's up with the title?" And it allows me to tell them this really cool story that I'm going to share with you and your listeners. When I was about 9 years old, I spent a lot of time with my dad and my dad's dad, my grandpa Jay is what I called him, and we again spent a lot of time together. And a couple of Fridays a month, we would go to our local Dairy Queen, which is like an ice cream shop. Okay. And at the Dairy Queen, they were kind of famous for their banana splits. And on the banana split Sunday, the three of us would split a banana split. And on the Sunday, there was the strawberry topping, the hot fudge topping, and then there was the pineapple topping. And okay, I love pineapple, just not on my pizza and not on my ice cream. Like we just not, it's no fly zone. And so I would always pick around the pineapple. I would either eat the strawberry or the fudge or whatever, but I just would never eat the pineapple. And I know that my grandpa picked up on that because one Friday we were at Dairy Queen and he asked me, "Is like, so what would you like on your banana split today?" And I just looked at him and I was like, whatever you want. And he asked again, gave him the same response. Third time, he gets down on my level, like eyeball to eyeball. And he goes, "Sweetheart, I'm going to need for you to tell me what you want on that banana split. Because here's the thing, if you don't tell people what you want, you will never get it. So why don't you step up, tell the nice girl at the counter what you would like on your Sunday, because get what you want." And I was like, I remember feeling as a little kid. I remember what I was wearing that day. I remember everything. I felt empowered. Sounds crazy, but it's like I felt empowered to tell the girl at the counter, I want, the strawberry topping. I definitely want, the hot fudge topping. Hold the pineapple, please. I'd rather have the marshmallow cream. And it was such an interesting moment. We all have these moments in life that are game changers, right? And for me, it was that moment in time where it's like, A, my voice mattered. B, I have to tell people what I want or I will never get it.
Yep.
And with all of the clients that I work with and shoot, I just was doing a big training for Peloton yesterday. And, high level executives who have spent their entire careers really struggling with how to really tell people what they need and what they want in order to execute the thing that they're working on, for
Mm.
fear of judgment, for fear of retaliation, for fear of whatever the fear may be. But it's all fear based. And at the end of the day, and what the book is all about, and what I love talking about more than anything, is just who is your audience? How do you tell them what you want in a way that's going to resonate with them? And
Mm.
so that's the story of the book, and that's what I talk about in the book. So
I love it. I mean, you know, the title's great, and we can go into why it's a great title. But I think what's really powerful is that story because you like you said, there's all these moments, and as you were talking about, I was thinking back, like there's been moments in my life that have changed my perception of what can and could be. And
yeah.
for me, one of those moments was when I was working with the Lakers. And I won't go too deep in the story, but I happened to be in an elevator ride with Jerry West. And I'm like sweating, so excited. I'm like, this is the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
And he gets out of the elevator and he thanks me because I'd helped him out with something. And, it reminded me that all we want to do as human beings is to feel loved, to be seen, to be heard.
Yeah. To be
And,
connected.
and all he did was just shake my hand.
Yeah.
But in that moment, it meant so much more. It ended up being a story
Wow.
in my book. It ended up being a topic in a keynote.
Yeah.
It ended up being something that transformed myself and thousands of people's lives around the world. And so the story, yes, it's a great title, but it's also something that has transformed and created ultimately what you do now. And
Oh, absolutely.
I want to know a little bit more about this in the sense of, you talk about asking for what you want, right?
Mhm.
How do
Yeah.
you ask for what you want, and how do you communicate in a way where it comes from a place of confidence,
Yep.
but it doesn't come from a place of demand?
Right, absolutely. So I break it down like this. There are four main communication styles. I use the DISC profile, DISC, the DISC profile, which is an assessment tool that's been around for about 40 plus years. There's the Enneagram, there is the Myers-Briggs, there's like the GAL, there's all these assessment tools, which are all amazing tools and they do great things. The DISC assessment helps people understand their specific communication style and how you can best communicate with others who aren't like you. Okay. Which, I mean, your style is going to be different than my style, right? So we have to be able to adjust and be able to nuance our message to be able to get what we need out of that conversation,
Mm,
right? And so what I teach is the DISC profile, again, four main styles. There's the dominant style, which is more of the extrovert, the big energy dominant, can be pretty assertive, aggressive type, results oriented is what I call them. They're the types of people that when they walk into the room, they're like, what's on the agenda? Let's go, let's do the thing. Okay. You have the influencer type, which is an extrovert, but they're more people oriented. So I call them the life of the party. These are the people who are planning the happy hours on Thursdays after work. And these are the people who are coordinating all fun things in the office and that kind of thing. You have the steady relators, which are more reserved. These people are more reserved, but they're people. These are team oriented. Don't rock my boat. Let's keep the peace and harmony, but I'm focused on people. Those are those types. And then we have the conscientious types, which are more reserved, but they're task oriented. I tell everybody I'm married to an accountant, so I feel like I can say this. Think of your typical accountant, typical engineer. They require a lot of data, a lot of research in order to make decisions. They can be unemotional at times. That doesn't mean that they don't have emotions. They just play the poker face.
mm,
Okay. They are taking in, they are absorbing in all of the information, all of the data, all the spreadsheets. And because they fear being wrong, they want to make the right decision. So they sit back and they absorb, which we've been around all of these different types of people in various meetings, right?
yep.
And so I teach people to read the room. Who are you talking to? It's not about your message and what you have to get out. It's what does your audience need in order for that message to really resonate, land, and for you to get what you need out of it too, in an authentic way that isn't cheesy, that's not salesy, that's not anything but like true empathy and just seeking to understand and meet people where they are. Because when we do that, let me tell you, I mean, at least for me, this methodology, it works. I mean, you get what you need out of something when you meet people where they are. So that's what I
Cool.
teach about and talk about in the book in a variety of different ways. How do you have the hard conversations? How do you
Yep.
sell? How do you have a sales conversation? How do you network with people? Those are all the questions. How to avoid, misunderstandings and miscommunication in office. I've been
Right.
preaching and teaching on that all summer, it feels like. So
Yeah. I'm gonna dig in. I'm gonna put you a little bit on the spot here if that's okay with you.
sure.
We got the four styles. Is there one tip? Okay, because what I'm gathering you say is that it's all about how you make them feel through the communication. It's not about necessarily you. Sure, you can communicate with them in a way to help you get what you want, but it's about how do you have more effective communication, and
Yeah,
you do that by relating to where they're at, right?
right.
So for the four styles, is there one tip that's a general tip for each one that you would say, hey, if you're communicating with the dominant person or the
Yeah.
steady relator person, is there one tip that like you would recommend if people can only hear one tip, what would you say is those one
What
tip
would
for
it
each
be?
style?
Yeah, I would say I'll break it down even further. Even the dominant, my more extroverted types, the dominant and the influencer types are more extroverts. They tend to talk over people. That's just their nature because they have things to say and they're an extrovert. So what I say to both of those styles is this: slow your roll a little bit. Quit talking and start listening. That's the biggest tip with both of those types. Quit talking, start listening. Pass the mic a little bit. Let somebody else talk. Okay. So for my more reserved people, my steady relators and conscientious types, um, you're sitting back and processing, which is what they need in order to make decisions. They need that time to think through things. Communicate with somebody that you need that time to think through things. Otherwise, what people can assume, and when we assume we lose, Donald Miller always says that, but when you assume you lose, what people assume is when you're not being assertive in a meeting and standing up and saying the thing, they think that you're being passive. And that is likely not the case. So have a conversation with somebody beforehand about, hey, I just need a hot second to be able to think through this. Don't call on me first. Let me just absorb. If you say that, and you're giving permission to, I want to be involved in this conversation, I just need a minute. So
Hmm.
those are my two top tips.
Okay, so I want to go one step further here. If you are working with someone or in a relationship with someone, friendship, dating,
Yeah.
workplace relationship, and they fall towards the non-extroverted side. We kind of there's the four, but then it's like the two extroverts side, more the two
Yep.
introverted side.
Yep.
If you're talking with the people that are on the introverted side, how do you, if you're the extroverted side, or even if you're the introvert person, how do you also um, set them up though to feel comfortable enough to say those
Yeah.
things, because that
Yeah.
can be sometimes hard based on how you
It
describe
can
it, and
be.
from some of the relationships that I've seen is sometimes it's hard for that person to express them first.
Yep.
So what do you do in that situation to make them
Yeah.
feel empowered or comfortable to be able to raise their
Yeah.
hand and say, come back to me in a sec?
Yeah. What I was advising my team yesterday, with this big, huge organization that I'm working with is just this. If you have a big meeting coming up, if you have an important conversation, whether that be a hard conversation or, hey, we're managing a new project and we need to move quickly, put an agenda together. Put some ideas down on paper. It doesn't have to be anything super formal. Send an email. Hey, we're meeting tomorrow at 2:30. I want to be sure that we talk about X, Y, Z. When you send, and I'm a big 24-hour person, send it out 24 hours beforehand. So that way they have a minute to think through, okay, I need to be sure to tell Jake XYZ, because this is going to come up in our meeting. You're prepping them in advance. When you have to have a hard conversation with a partner or a friend, as well too, having having a pre-conversation about, hey, I think we're going to have to talk about whatever the hard thing is. When would be a good time for us to really dig into that? That way, again, you're allowing them time to process, oh crap, we got to talk about this thing. And I need to get my thoughts together, because as soon as you say we have to have this hard conversation, their mind starts just blah, 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 and it's hard for them to process through it on the spot. But give them a second. But share the agenda, share the talking points in advance, and that will help you. And I'm not
Awesome.
talking about days and weeks in advance. If you've got to have a hard conversation with somebody and it's at 9 o'clock in the morning and you want to meet with them by 2, shoot them an email. I mean, just
Yep.
give them
Yep.
some time. Springing things on most people don't like surprises. Okay, I'm on the extroverted side of the equation here. I still don't like surprises. I want to be prepared and I want to be thoughtful about my response. And most people do. So just give them that courtesy.
Mm, I like that. And this is all stuff that you talk about in depth in the book. And
Yep.
we're going to talk more about the book here in a second, but I got one more question related to this that I'm dying to ask. When you communicate with people and you have these things, use the disc, right? There's Myers-Briggs, there's Enneagram, there's some of
Yep.
these other things. One of the things that comes to mind is, okay, I'm going to learn exactly how all these other styles are. And then I'm
Mhm.
going to be able to communicate in the way that they're best suited for so that I get more of what I want. How
Yep.
do you dance between the fine line of being understanding and supportive and trying to communicate in a way that they receive best while also not being manipulative and manipulating people, right? Because in a lot of ways, right, if I can understand exactly who you are, right, you see all these TV shows, right, they build people who can manipulate someone else based on personality, communication, where they live, all these things, right? You see these in spy movies, you see this in all these things, right? And you hear of people doing this in other places when they're trying to pull a one over, or even if they're
Yeah.
not intentionally doing this, which a lot of people
Yeah.
don't even recognize. But how do you dance between, look, I'm trying to really learn what's the best way to communicate with you so we
That's
can be more
right.
effective, versus I'm trying to learn what you do so that I can get what I want, right?
Okay, so you can. I see you. I hear where you're going with this. I've had people talk about this to me before, and my response is always this. And I don't think you have kids just yet.
Not
One
yet.
of these days, maybe so. Even if you have dogs or cats or whatever the thing may be for you, I have 3 kids. They're all teenagers, so I'm just going to use kids as the example. 2 boys, 1 girl, 18, 16, 13. Let me tell you, my daughter is a force to be reckoned with. She is a high dominant, get crap done, don't have time for fluff, let's move. Both of my boys, who are highly athletic, like manly men type of guys, highly sensitive, highly sensitive. When I tell my daughter to do something, I know I can cut to the chase and say, oh, her name is Mackenzie. We call her Mac. I'm like, Mac, I need for you to do but. I need it to be done by 5 o'clock. Here's what we got. We're not doing XYZ until this is handled, kind of a thing. And she's like, on it. Thanks. My boys, if I were just like, here's what I need, but, here's what I need to have done on, I would have, my youngest would probably cry, and he's 6'1" and wears a size 14 shoe. Okay. I mean, he would cry. And my oldest would be like, what did I do to upset you? Okay. So people respond differently. I'm using the kid thing. I mean, your dogs respond differently. I have one dog that's like yappity yap, and one dog that just wants to cuddle with me all day. I mean, you can't talk to your dogs the same way. I mean, it just kind of works that way. We all respond very differently. And so I don't look at it as manipulation. I look at it as we have a thing that needs to be done, and I need to be able to talk to you in a way that you're going to get it. You're going to understand the overall vision of what needs to have happen here and what your role is to play in all of this as well too.
Yeah,
So
I like
I
that.
hope that answers your
Yeah.
question.
It's funny as you say that because it's a lot about intent,
It
right?
is.
It's about what is your intent for doing these things? Is it
Yeah.
to be empathetic, to be understanding, to improve communication, or is it purely to just get what you want in the faster
So
way,
true.
right?
So true.
So I
And
like that.
don't have evil intent. I mean, come on. Like I would say 98% of the people that I work with are good-hearted, just want to get like, how do we figure this out together? They're so quagmired and so just ready to get out of the muck and a mess that it's like whatever we need to do to make this work better. That's kind of the attitude. So
Yeah.
I don't really come across too many like, so how do I say X to this person so I can get what I need?
Yep.
That doesn't
Good.
really happen too much. So,
Awesome.
and I don't think it's ever happened, but
Awesome.
anyway.
So I want to go back to the book for a little bit. All right. You obviously have such a wealth of knowledge around these particular topics, right? You've worked with some huge, huge, huge companies, and you decided to write a book. What was the deciding factor that led you to being, you know what, I need to write this book. It needs to get done, and now's the
Yeah.
time.
I would say over the past couple of years, I mean, I've worked with some really awesome clients, and I have developed a lot of training slide decks over the years, like a lot of training slide decks. And over the past, I guess, 18 months leading up to when I decided to pull the trigger on writing the book, I had been thinking, gosh, I've got a lot of content here. I've got so much content here. I could write a book. I mean, I was kind of jokingly talking, I could write a book about this stuff. And some of my girlfriends, they're like, you need to think about that. I mean, like quit joking about it. Like you need to think about that. And quite honestly, I was like, I don't even know where the hell to start. I mean, I don't even know I'm a good writer, but I don't know how to write a book. And so I was delivering a keynote. So I'm in Dallas. There's a big, huge, and large law firm downtown Dallas that invited me to come and be a keynote speaker last October for their Women in Business. They invited all of their bigwig clients to come in for this event and whatnot. And I was keynoting it. And as I was getting set up for this keynote, one of the legal assistants, awesome lady, she was one of the first people to buy my book too. She was helping me get my laptop set up and mic check, all of the things to make sure that the event went off without a hitch. And I delivered my keynote. And after the keynote, she's helping me tear down a little bit. And she comes over to me and she asks me, she's like, girl, when's that book coming? And I was like, oh, sister, you're about the sixth person this month that has asked me about that. And then and I was just like, I don't know. I don't know. And she goes, I'll be ready to see that book. I mean, it was just, and it wasn't tongue in cheek. Like she was serious about it. And that afternoon, I went home and I started kind of putting an outline together as to what, based on some of the slide decks, some of the content that I already had, what do I have? What's the scope and sequence that actually makes sense for a book? That got to be overwhelming. And I was like, I need to find somebody to help me write this. Like, what do I do?
Right.
And so some of the influencers that I follow, you're a part of their network and that kind of thing too. And then I just, I clicked on your profile and I started reading and I was just like, okay. And there were some other people I looked at too, but I liked your style. I read your book. I did the funnel. I got your book. I read it on a plane as I was headed to Boston for another training. And I was like, all right, done. Like, boom, we're moving. This is what I need to do.
So there's so many things I want to point out. First of all, thank you for getting the book and thank you for trusting us to do it. Your book's awesome. It worked out. But it's really funny because so many people have an idea that they should turn what they've already done into a book, or
Yeah.
they've been told by a bunch of people, hey, you should write this book. And I would be curious to know here is you had the idea, it took six people, or even probably more, honestly, jokingly, seriously, where they're like, write a book. Why do
Yeah.
you think it took you all of those comments before you were like before you were ready to pull a trigger? Because you obviously had all the knowledge.
Yeah.
So what was the
God.
belief that was stopping you? Was it like a book feels like a lot of work? Was it who am I? Like what was the thought pattern
Yeah.
before you finally reached a point where you had to break through and do it?
Okay, so how much time do we have for this podcast? Because this is like a counseling session. Um, I had a lot, and it's when I tell my friends this, they're like, "What? What?"
Yep.
Um, I had a lot of worthiness
Mm,
issues, and even though I have done like really kick-ass things in my professional career, and everybody who looks at me is like, you really, you struggle with that? And I'm like, yeah, the head trash is real, like it's real. And I struggled and struggled
mhm.
and struggled with that. And I mean, honestly, my freaking husband is amazing. And second husband, second and last, I'll just say that much. Anyway, um, he was the one when I found your Instagram profile and I showed him the book and that kind of thing. He and I was questioning myself. I was like, I don't know if I should do this. I don't know if I should do this. And I remember we were just sitting in bed one night and he had flipped through your book as well too. And he was just like, sweetheart, like you're not helping other people if you don't write this book.
Mm,
And oh, I'm gonna cry. But it's just like I'm all about helping people, and it's just and he was right. And so when he said that, that is really just kind of struck me as I'm getting in my own way. I'm being selfish and letting my own head trash dictate what my future, is
yep.
going to be here instead of the whole freaking reason why I do what I do is to help people have better lives. And I'm not going to do that if I just keep all this information in here on a Canvas slide deck. I mean, that's
Yeah.
not helpful.
Yeah.
So,
I appreciate you sharing that because I think it's so important too. Because everybody has some belief before they write the book.
yeah,
Every single person has something. And for most people, it falls into one of a few categories, right? Some people, it's a unique thing, but for most people, it all falls under, the belief about can they do it, technical knowledge, ability, time frame, and then what's going on between your ears, right?
oh, yeah.
And though you did it, it crushed it. Talk to me about what the feeling was. Okay, I want to now skip ahead here. You go through the whole process
Yeah.
and you launch, it's done. It's ready. You're holding the book in your hand. You announce the book, it goes
Yeah.
live, people start buying it. Like what was that like for you? The emotions, what were the results of you launching it? Like talk to me about what's
It
happened.
was it was wild. I mean, it was wild. That week of launch week, and I followed exactly the template that you set forth. I did exactly everything to the T. It worked. Having all of these people rally behind me
Mm,
that week, I mean, again, I feel like I'll cry. It was pretty special. It was. And in fact, it was so interesting. Even yesterday, I was working with my, team Peloton people, and the C-suite, the senior leader had bought a copy of the book, unbeknownst to me. Like I didn't even know she did. And she had a copy of the book for everybody who was in our training session for 3+ hours yesterday. And they were so excited to see me. And they all wanted me to stay for if we could just stay for 10 minutes later so you can sign a copy of our book and we can get pictures and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, this is crazy. I mean, okay, absolutely. But it was wild. And it still is just, I went home and I was like, wow, okay, this is wild. And today I hopped on LinkedIn and I've had two people post about my book today on LinkedIn. And, yes, it feels wild, but then also I go back to the whole impact and Like, yeah, I love hearing the stories of how it's helping change
Mm,
people's relationships and how they go about with conversations with their employees and their team members and their spouses. And I mean, all of it. I mean, it's really good stuff. So,
yeah, that's awesome to hear. It's always fun because once you actually get the book, and I'm sure you felt this, it there's a level of, okay, I'm scared to do this for whatever the
yeah,
reason is. I'm doing this. This is amazing. What the hell am I actually doing? This is crazy. Holy shit, I have a book in my hand to, oh my God, people are actually going to buy this soon.
they're
What in the
actually
world's going to
buying
happen,
it.
right? Like all these things happen, but there's always a shift that happens mentally once you
Yeah.
hold that book in your hand.
Whew,
And it's an
pretty
emotional
powerful.
it's an emotional shift, it's an emotional feeling, but it's hard to describe to people who haven't written a book. But now that
Yeah.
you've done it and you've gotten that first message from someone, you've gotten executive leaders of huge corporations picking up your book, like it just reinforces that you were meant to do it, right?
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
your impact is just beginning for everything that you're going to do. There's so many other companies, so many other people that are going to listen to this show, that are going to find your book somewhere. They're going to read it on a plane, and all of a sudden you're going to be flying to wherever they're at in the world. And that's a beautiful thing. And I just want to congratulate you on having a lot of success with this book so far. And I can't wait to see where it takes you.
I appreciate it, but your team was freaking amazing. So
Awesome.
that they were so awesome, made the process pretty darn easy. So
And we appreciate that. We try to make it easier, but it's the author that does the work. It's the author that shows up, the author that commits,
yep.
and that's exactly what you did, Heather. So, look, I mean, we could keep going for a lot longer here, but I want to know, how do we get the book? I want to give everyone a chance to learn what their communication style is. I
Yeah.
want them to hold the pineapple, please, and get what they want. So, what is the best way to connect with you, to buy your book,
Yeah.
to hire you to consult, speak, anything?
Yeah, the best way to connect with me, I mean, you can get my book actually from my website as well too. So Heather Lisle, and it's Lis as in Sam, le.com. So the S is silent, heatherlisle.com. I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. So Heather Lisle Co on LinkedIn and Heather underscore Lisle on Instagram. But
Awesome.
LinkedIn is where I probably spend the most time, and of course on my website as well too. So
Cool. And we'll link all that up for sure so that
great.
anyone can just grab it. But yeah, I just want to say thank you for coming on the show. And if, as we get ready to depart here, if there's one thing that you would want someone to know, no matter what their communication style is, but that you would want to impart
Yeah.
for them to think about how to be better at communicating, what would
Yeah.
be the one thing that if they only knew that they could
Mhm.
improve today?
Oh, absolutely. The one thing is this, is that consider your audience. What do they need? I mean, giving someone what they need is issuing the highest form of empathy, right? Meet people where they're at. Just meet them where they're at and adjust your message accordingly. So
I'm gonna
that's
have to
what
write that down. That's a great way to end this thing, Heather. Well, hey, I appreciate you coming on. And for everyone who just listened to this, here's my challenge to you. You know, we end every one of these episodes with a challenge based on something that I found to be fascinating is, and this goes back to why you titled your book, Hold the Pineapple, Please. Okay. My challenge to you, if you're still listening to this right now, is once you put this down, before the night's up, before the day's over, is to go to somebody, somewhere, whether it's a restaurant, whether it's a Dairy Queen, whether it's a employee, an employer, a partner, whomever, a friend, whomever. And I want you to express something that you need. I want you to express something that you desire, something that you want. And take what we talked about today, apply everything that Heather already just shared with you, and use that as a way to practice improving your communication and also having more fun, because
yeah.
it often becomes a lot easier as well. So that's my challenge. And Heather, once again, thank you for coming on the show.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thanks so much for having me.
Awesome. All right, you guys, you know what to do. Make sure you go follow Heather. Go check her out on LinkedIn, Instagram. Check out the website. Make sure to get the book, Hold the Pineapple, Please. That's what we got for you today. See you next time.